Hello, and welcome on this new release of Xen Orchestra. This time we are back for the end of June, so that's the 5.108. And we're proud to present this release because it's a pretty big one. We've been missing video announcements in the last 2 or 3 months. We're sorry about that. We were very busy, but still, that's the opportunity today to showcase what's new again within the ecosystem, but also what's new for this June release. As you may know, traditionally, summer in Europe is more calm. People are going into holidays and so on. So that also explains why June is really packed with so many stuff. So let's go directly into what's going on within the project and community. So the obvious big announcement. So maybe you're aware if you are a subscriber of the XCPNG newsletter, XCP 8.3 finally reaches the LTS status. So it is not a new release. It's not like an upgrade from 8.3 if you were using just before it. It's like a new train of updates that you could just enjoy if you do the usual way to do regular updates. But it's like cutting the release with the status of LTS. So it means a lot of things. So this is not the main topic today, so I won't go into all the details, but it's important enough to let you know that as soon as we said, got the 8.3 in LTS status, the 8.2 will be in the end reaching end of life after some time. So right now the countdown started, and 8.2 will be end of life within like 3 months. So you will have to start thinking about upgrading 8.2 to 8.3. There is all the details inside the blog post, so read it carefully. There's so many information there, and how to do things the right way without doing any mistakes and so on. And if you need some assistance, as usual, you can contact our professional support. In the same time, which is like not planned, but still, CloudStack, the orchestrator that is compatible with XCPNG, is now fully compatible with 8.3 and obviously the LTS version of 8.3 because it's not, again, another release. It's like the 8.3, just having the LTS tag, if you like, on top of it. So CloudStack allows you to do things that are not yet possible with Xen Orchestra. So if you need like let's say a lot of multi-tenants with many users and like building your own public cloud, you can, and CloudStack will plug onto XCPNG and offer you that. So it's a great news because it's like another demonstration that the ecosystem is, following with the development of XCPNG. We also have an interesting article talking about building your Kubernetes cluster in minutes. We updated during the last release the recipe to be able to deploy that through directly Xen Orchestra. So the blog post is explaining you how it works, how you can create that, but also under the hood, how those VMs are spawned, which Kubernetes distribution is used, and so on and so on. So it's really interesting. If you want to test Kubernetes without, taking any risk or, doing anything like from scratch, that's a great way to start playing with it. If you are a partner, so completely another topic, or if you want to become a partner, just to let you know that we have a, I would say, newsletter, but a recurring blog post about what's going on. It's called Vates Partners Insights, and inside that insights, we are giving you, what's going on, the next information, the progress we made on a partner portal. So if you're interested, just take a look, and if you want to become a partner, you can apply online, and we will review your application. Let's move on the community aspects for the Xen project. As you know, Vates and we are here a member of the Xen project board, so meaning we are participating to let's say defining the future of the open source hypervisor. And this month we are really happy to show that Ford, the automotive leader, is now being a member of the Xen board, and it's not a coincidence that it's happening like few months after Honda, which did the same, like I think it was in the first quarter. So this means there is more and more automotive players that are joining the Xen project because it's probably right now the only open source hypervisor that could provide this level of safety and security and latency that could be guaranteed with Xen, which is not possible with other hypervisors like KVM, for example. So that's really interesting to see that happening. And you might ask, well, it's automotive, it's not servers. But in the end, there's, let's say, an area where it makes sense together, because all the safety and security efforts that is done for automotive is also something we can leverage for server virtualization. After all, if it's safety grade for life-threatening things in automotive, then it means it's safe to run your VMs, right? So this is great, and it showcases how the Xen ecosystem is also getting more and more traction recently, which is great, and we are proud to participate to that. Staying on that topic, the Xen Summit 2025 will be in San Jose, in California. So, as you know, we made the Xen Winter Meetup, which was like the European, let's say, not counterpart, but let's say smaller events. But it was a huge success with 50 people came to discuss about Xen. The summit is the more traditional thing where we are like around 80 people, something like this, discussing more broadly with people all around the world. So this time it's in San Jose. By the way, we might have an announcement in the future regarding the fact that if some people cannot travel to the US, we are organizing a co-summit to attend remotely also the summit in San Jose. So I will be myself in the US, but we had some people who want to attend remotely and maybe to group together to watch, the summit remotely and discuss, on their end without having to move to the US. So we'll keep you posted about that. If you want to make a call there for, you have a project using Xen, or maybe you want to showcase what you're doing with Xen Hypervisor, the call for speakers is still open, so it's still time for the next weeks to do it, and it will be closed soon. So if you want to participate, go ahead. And lastly, with the community and ecosystem announcements, I wrote a blog post that I think could be interesting. So that's a personal point of view, but I like to share that, and that's why I do that in my personal blog. And it's about who owns your virtualization stack. And it's a kind of different perspective where a lot of companies or even websites are trying to compare just based on features and not on a broader angle. So what I try to do is to get another angle on how you compare to other solutions, which are open source or not open source, and who is really controlling the stack, because it takes a lot of efforts, a lot of money to control the stack. And controlling, by that I mean having the technical knowledge, expertise from the hypervisor up to the orchestration and backup. So that's probably something that you might find interesting. And that's it for the intro. And believe me, this release is pretty big, so we'll start with backup. If sometimes I'm not entering into all the details, I'm sorry, but again, it's not like to just read you what's going on in the blog post, but just give you, a more broad picture on the feature we have and why we're working on them. So the first one is adding Azure storage. So Azure storage is kind of it's not a S3 compatible protocol. It's something different. I mean, that's Microsoft, so shouldn't be a surprise, but it's still like a bucket-like system. So we had more and more users asking to be natively compatible with Azure storage. So we did it. Basically, we wrote a specific code that is handling the way it works. And it's not like a wrapper on something. It is native code to deal directly with Azure. So we did that, and now you can add it as a backup repository, like any other backup repository available, like NFS, S3, and so on. There's some, I would say, limitation, but like S3, you need to enable like the block format and using NBD, and it's the first release in latest. So as you can imagine, consider it as a preview, and all the feedback you might have will be appreciated. We have tests, obviously, but we are testing it our test scale, which is not like testing it yet at a very large scale like we did test the other stuff, because we have thousands of customers, so and million users. So it's a lot easier when you have a huge community using it. As it's brand new, consider it still as a preview right now. Okay, let's talk about supporting the now famous Qcode2 backups. So I will just scroll down a bit. We just posted a blog post about how we are implementing Qcode2 within XCPNG. So you might find it interesting. And in short, as you know, the VHD format got let's say, a bundled limitation by definition. The format of VHD is limited to 2 terabytes, and if you want to go beyond that, you need to use another format. So you have a Qcode2, but you have also the VMware format, you have the Microsoft format, and so on and so on. But we choose this one because we thought it was the best one we could use. We got a lot of open source library we could rely on, or even get some inspiration about it. Unlike VMware stuff, which is closed, or VHDX, which is sure documented but less, let's say, popular around there. So that's why we decided to use it. So we have a preview that is in XCPNG, and it works okay for a preview. We still need to get more feedback, but having it is just a start. It's not the end of the journey. We need to be able to migrate that, to backup it, to replicate it and restore it. And that's exactly what has been done with this release of Xen Orchestra. So basically, we implemented the code that is allowing us to backup disks that are larger than 2 terabytes, because we know those disks will be using Qcode2, and meaning you could do incremental replication and restore regardless. Obviously 2 terabyte limitation included, regardless the format used. So the code that we started to rewrite like 1 or 2 months ago, starting to showcase what could be done with it, which is very flexible and allow to get VHDs, Qcode2s, and store it in a, let's say, a flat way with all the blocks, meaning that in the future, if we have other formats, then it will be able to keep up with it. So that's the consequence of like almost 3 months of hard work for the backup team. So kudos to them. It's a nice success, and to us, it's another brick that is showcasing that we are going to support Qcode2 natively in 8.3 LTS. We are not waiting for the next big release to do it, because it's very important. So we continue to improve it, but all the pieces of the puzzle are now starting to fit. So we expect another, let's say, months to be able to get it something going to stable. Obviously, this is critical stuff. That's your data, so we want to make sure that it will be stable and there's no issue. So work in progress, but a good progress this month. There's other details with the code of the backup that is still improving some, let's say, edge cases, or some S3 compatible storage that had very large timeouts, like Blaze, sadly. So the code is, let's say, vastly improved to be able to keep up with those alternative providers that sometimes are taking some liberties with how S3 should work. And we improve, of course, backup reports, but those are more detailed against what we just talked before. I will let you read the article if you want the details. So now let's talk about the core UI. So as a reminder, core UI is the, let's say, focused effort and let's say the team effort done both for Exolite and Exo6. So, Exolite is the small version of Xen Orchestra bundled into 8.3, while Exo6 is the entire version using backup and everything. But we share all the components together, which is interesting because any views that is both for Exolite and Exo6 is developed at the same time. So we could almost go twice at the pace if we had two different things. So this month we added new components like the code blocks, which are really, really great to copy like errors, outputs that are like, for whatever that could come from XCPNG, for example. So with a copy button, so this allows you to quickly copy the contents of the log, for example, and to present it with like a specific font that is easy to read for logs. We also improve the icon management library, so that will be a lot easier to add extra icons, and also for distros and things we want to customize. So that's part of the under the hood work, but still it's yielding interesting things, and that participate to the acceleration you are seeing. Another stuff that is really important also is pagination on the table. So as soon as you have a lot of content to display, now we have pagination that is working for table, and you can add it very easily in the components. We also have new select and multi-select components, which allows to navigate through the keyboard, to search directly inside the select, to have multiple things selected at the same time, and custom labels if you want to select multiple items. So it's like a great selector component. And I mean, the idea is there's so many places you need that within Xen Orchestra. So we take time to make it right and efficient and fast and so on. So the component is done, and now we'll have everywhere we have a selector, we'll use it in a very simple fashion. So that's why also it's great to take time to make them right, because then to use them, it's a lot easier. And in the end, you are going to reach to the UI you want faster. We also introduced the VM dashboard. So all those components and views are both available for Exolite and Exo6, just as a reminder. So the VM dashboard is available within the Xen Orchestra, but if you click on a VM within Exolite, you will see the same thing. So that's also giving coherency between the two software. And remember, as you can see, that's the same thing. And from Exolite, you could access XOA if you want the central console view that you want to have, and you have it for the light theme. The same stuff for the pool. So basically, you could access to a system tab for a pool, giving you all the general information for your pool. And this is really helpful. And this is also something that we could push both for Exolite and Exo6. We also improved the mobile support for side panels that are, popping on the right. It works better with a small device. Again, it's not the main target to be usable on a small device, but in some situation it could be handy. So our, let's say, target is to make it usable. That's something important. So we don't want to have stuff that you cannot see on the screen or that is invisible. So we regularly, let's say, improving the way it works on mobile, even if it's not mobile first, because we prefer to prioritize new screens and things like this against being just compatible on mobile phone, because again, it's not a priority at the moment. There's some specificities for Exo6, again, because there's more features than in Exolite. We added something called a site in the tree view. So it's a new level, and that's in fact the level of Xen Orchestra. So that's important because that's where, as you can see here, that's a new element that we didn't have previously in here. That was a pool. So why? Because when you click on it, you have the dashboard for the entire infrastructure that is managed by Xen Orchestra. And it's not possible from a pool perspective, right? So we added this new level that is able to provide you this extra view that is a dashboard into the entire infrastructure, giving you also the info on the backup, all the pools, and so on and so on. So that's, can call that a site. It will be able to be changed in the future at the description of the site. So this way you could have exos that are for certain sites, or exo for the sites, or a main Xen Orchestra. It's up to you to organize it. But I think it's a great new level of depth for the tree view, and it makes sense within the Xen Orchestra perspective. We also improved the host dashboards. And also what's interesting is those dashboards are now, let's say, loaded with a data stream. So this means, as you can see, components are filled one after the other, unlike before where they were simply all waiting to get the results, so it's not necessarily faster, but this means as soon as we got the information, then we could display it. And that's great for dashboard, but that will be even better when you have a lot of data to parse, to analyze. You will have it as soon as it's there. And you will see that Exo6 is also many times faster to load information than Exo5, especially with large infrastructure. We also improved the backup view, and the before was like a bit weird, so we decided to make it a lot clearer because we had a lot of space. to understand, more details about what's going on. So it's already available in the backup view. So that's it for Core UI, XO6, and XO Lite. And as you can see, it was a lot of work, and it was possible because we are focusing more on that than, at least for the front end team, than continue to improve XO5, which is like the target, as a reminder, is for the end of the year that XO6 will be the default view, meaning that you still have access to XO5, but through using /XO5 in your browser. And right now you have to, access /v6 to get the v6 view. But again, it will become the default view in last release of December. That will be the XO 6.0 release. So we will get our promises to get XO 6 for 2025. Let's switch to XOA, so the virtual appliance, just to let you know that we improved our release process to make it, let's say, easier to backport security fixes. So as security is more and more important, as we have bigger customers or customers that are, let's say, sensitive, we had to be more reactive when there's a security thing. Previously, it was really hard to backport a patch to the stable branch. Luckily, stable branch is only living like 1 month or 2, but now we decided we want to go even faster, and now we could backport anything a lot easier than previously. So that's internal thing, but if you are unstable, it's likely you have in the future more small updates or security fixes in the stable version. Let's switch to the REST API. So as you know, that's the API that is the future for us. The original one was in JSON RPC, but the API one, the REST API one, is now used for XO6 too. So this is why it's important. And it's a lot easier to use, sure. And the other great stuff about it is you can, with a REST API, you can create on the fly a documentation. We use Swagger. So in short, you have all the description on each endpoint within a web UI that is embedded right into your Xen Orchestra. So for example, this month we added all the states you could have for a VM change, pause, resume, snapshot, start, suspend, and so on. It is documented in the Swagger. We also added more data sources for the stats. So to give you the context about that, we're working in a partnership with EasyVert, and they are doing capacity planning and stuff. And they needed like extra metrics that are really important to do that. For example, the run state full contention or the run state concurrency hazard. And those metrics are not exposed by default. So now with Xen Orchestra and through the API of Xen Orchestra, you can trigger those new, or enable if you prefer, those metrics, and EasyVert through DC Scope will use that to do capacity planning, and more efficiency on the infrastructure you use, and maybe you could have less machines and so on and so on. So that's why we developed that. You might want to use those metrics yourself or whatever tool you like. This is really, really handy, and it demonstrates that we have a lot of metrics that could be used to improve the overall usage of your infrastructure. We also added many new endpoints in the REST API, so I think it would have been a release by itself just with the REST API. So you could, create delete networks, delete servers that you added, and all the actions we've said, and all of that is directly visible within the Swagger documentation. So again, you know exactly the example, the type that is needed, and so on. So that documentation within Xen Orchestra, so you can access it offline. It's included within your local UI. It will help you to build whatever tool you need on top of our REST API. Also, previous the use of Swagger, we had some endpoints that already in the REST API, but not in Swagger, but we continue to add them, like rolling reboot, rolling update, emergency shutdown, and so on. So the goal is to have all REST API endpoints within the Swagger. So it's a good work in progress, and it's a matter of few releases before everything will be there. And we are, let's say, closing to the parity with the JSON RPC API, likely for the end of the year too, meaning, 2025 would have been a really pivotal year for Xen Orchestra. Okay, let's switch to the DevOps Tools category. So as a reminder, now we have a dedicated DevOps Tools team, which is working on improving the ecosystem of tooling, third-party tooling to connect to our API. So we discussed about the Kubernetes stuff, but let's talk about the Terraform provider, which has been updated to improve the way you work with VM lifecycles. So it's a minor release, but it's a new release still, which is pretty cool. We also updated the Packer plugin, which allows to get automation of Linux distro or any other OS installation. We made some improvements recently, and it's a new release, and the first new release with a project that is now hosted within our Vates GitHub repository. So it shows that we are internalizing, the third-party infrastructure as code and automation and DevOps tooling directly ourselves by taking the responsibility to, improve them, keep them up to date, and adding features and so on and so on. The other last big announcement for the DevOps Tools team is the ability of the Xen Orchestra Cloud Controller Manager. So if you know Kubernetes, you know what is CCM, but basically this is a tool helping to map what's going on in Kubernetes between Kubernetes on one side and Xen Orchestra on the other side. I mean, even the infrastructure. So this mapping helps to know where the nodes are in terms of VMs, and we could use like rules in Kubernetes to be sure some replicas are not on the same, I don't know, host, or maybe even the same data center, because if you use the pool, you can know, I don't want this replica on the same pool. So this helps a lot when you work with Kubernetes to understand what's going on underneath and to use Kubernetes rules and, orchestrator to be sure your containers are at the place that makes sense for your plan. So that's a really great tool. It's the first version, but it works already. So feel free to test it and to give us feedback. We have a dedicated DevOps mega thread on our forum where all the feedback for all the DevOps tool team is really welcome. We created a new section this month, and this section is about documentation guides because we have a technical writer now working at Vates, and we are improving the documentation every month. And I wanted to showcase, all the work that has been done to improve the doc, missing points, new pages, revamp of existing pages, and so on. So those are the recently vastly improved sections regarding Xen Orchestra documentation. So really, if you want to take a look, that's, a really good stuff. Remember that previously maybe it wasn't there or not really explained. Now this gives you a great overview on what a feature does, how it works, and how you can use it. So kudos to the technical writer team because it's really nice. We also wanted to thanks the external contributors because we have more and more traction for people that are contributing to Xen Orchestra, which is really a great sign for the project and how healthy it is. Sure, we always have a lot of let's say community contribution like feedback, QA, bug reports, but we also have like code contribution. And we had from someone on GitHub who is building a tool, Josh. He's doing a tool that is helping to detect the typos, and he used this tool to go through our repo and detected dozens of typos. So he created the PR, and that was great because we managed to, let's say, cut it into smaller pieces, because sometimes when you fix a typo, it could break a feature. So we took time to do it. But still, this is like improving the overall quality of the software because it reduces the risk of typo breaking something because you use a way to name it at some place and another name in other place. So this is great. And we had also another contribution from PBO who improved the way we use language selection for Exo6. So that's important, and that's great because sometimes it's not that huge, but still the time to understand what does what, to create the PR, to be reviewed, and so on. We know it's not easy to contribute to an external project. It's when it's not your project and you are not embedded inside it. So kudos to those two contributors because for us, that's where we want to go. We want to have external contributors. We like that. And when it's done, we want to, put the light on them because it's really cool to not be just, even if it's fully open source, not to be just something done by Vates. We also have a more classical contribution through translations. And since we put Weblate online, the tool we use, which is also open source, to make the translation, we had so many new language and improvements so fast. So we really like that because it's a lot easier to contribute. So if you want to, on your side, contribute to do the translation, there is a link here. It's pretty easy. It's self-hosted on our servers, and you can just select a language, create a new one, and select the strings in English and select it in your language, and it creates a PR automatically. So that's great, and we want to continue to move forward. All of that participates to the translation of Exolite and Exo6, so it's great. And let's finish on the Misc section. As you remember, last month we had an XSA, a Xen security advisory regarding vulnerability inside the Windows PV drivers that was discovered by someone at Vates too. And we really wanted to showcase how critical this issue is. And so we had a warning message right into Xen Orchestra, a big red warning about your tools are not up to date. And it was like really important to do, but we had some feedback with people using versions of Windows that cannot be patched because they are too old, like Windows 7, Windows Server 2012, even before. So for those people, we had a solution. So if you create a new tag for this VM that will call the hide XSA 468, then automatically we will ignore that and not put the warning for those machines. So if you know what you do, if it's legacy and if it's really isolated and so on or whatnot, you can ignore the message yourself if you put that tag into it. So this way, it's better for legacy, but obviously we advise to upgrade, but we know in reality sometimes it's not that easy. And finally, yes, again, we are doing better progress with the QCO2 formats right into XCPNG, which is still in preview. Again, now Xen Orchestra UI is able to show you the format directly in the selector from the SR, but also the disk. So if you start to play with it in your lab, you know what disk is, QCO2 or VHD. And finally, the remote syslogging is more and more used, and it seems that we added the capability without adding the capability to remove a syslog server, just to modify it. So now it's fixed, and you can, if you use remote syslog but you don't want anymore, now you can remove it. So that's it for this pretty big release of Xen Orchestra. As you can see, that's a very large one with so many important information into it. I think that's a real, testimony on how fast things are going right now. We're really proud of that. I would expect things to go a little slower in July and August. Probably we use that to finally in July or August upgrade the stable version after a few months of the new backup code to be sure that there's no surprises. And again, expect for the end of the year both the QCO2 stuff, the Exo6 UI by default, and maybe a first basic pre-alpha version of XCP9. So the next 6 months will be really, really exciting with all of those new things. And as you can see, Vates is growing a lot. And thanks to that, we could tackle more and more topics in parallel while keeping our motto, which is doing things well, correctly, with a nice level of quality to avoid any problems for anyone in production. So I hope you enjoy this recap for this release and all the announcements, and we'll see you in July. So see you and enjoy Xen Orchestra. Bye-bye.